And hello fellow tankers, Space Bandit here with another episode of World of Tanks. And today I bring you a little bit different video than I normally would. No, today is not going to be an epic game video. It's not going to be extreme amount of damage or ace tanker or anything like that. It's going to be a video where we talk about teammates and what's been happening to this game lately, because I really do not understand what has been happening. I've been playing last weekend. My win rate is probably no better than 40%, to be honest, guys. And even though I don't platoon, I never ever have low win rate like this. And this time it really hit me. There must be influx of new players in the game, or kids. I don't really know what's going on, because, you know, for the time I played, I thought to myself I would probably be better if I give my controller to my son and let him play the game, because that way I wouldn't get aggravated, to be honest. Anyway, I really wanted to make a Christmas video for you guys with a little bit better spirit, something to celebrate this Christmas season, and going forward, hopefully, you know, getting better at the game, that kind of stuff. I mean, this video kind of ties into this, because what I'm going to talk about is some stuff that probably will help you become better at the game, I hope. But unfortunately, it's going to come across a little bit salty. And, you know, during Christmas season, this is not what you want to be hearing. So, before I lay out my salt on you guys, I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And, you know, all the best in the new year. Reaching new levels when it comes to tanking. Hopefully you can get better as players. You can share the knowledge that you have with people that you know that play the game. The purpose of my channel is pretty much doing that for you guys. So in some cases this channel might not be appealing for players that are really good at the game, because they already know what they're doing. In that case they might just be here to watch, you know, good replays, that kind of stuff. But I will not always have good replays on this channel, guys, and that's the way it goes. Sometimes you have a good run, you could have 2-3 ace tankers in a row and it's all great and hanky-dory, but sometimes you have really poor run like I did last weekend, and that's not gonna happen. Not to say that I do not have footage to show you guys, because I do, but I really wanted to touch this subject and talk about what's happening in the game. So today we're gonna talk about three main topics, and three main topics are going to be relative to: one, supporting your teammates. How to support your teammates. What positions can you put yourself in order to support your teammates? Remember, this is a team game. Without your support, your teammates will not be able to do what they need to do. You always need help from the teammates. There's no way one player can kill the entire team and carry. I mean, there are good players out there, don't get me wrong. There are great players out there that could probably do something close to that. But in order for them to have a decent game, teammates have to have some input. Get enemy down in health, get enemy down in number, and then they can prosper, right? So that's the first thing we're going to talk about. Second, we're going to show an example of when is your time to push. That's the toughest part to do. I remember when I was a new tanker, it was extremely difficult for me to understand when to push, when not to push. And with time, when you guys get a little bit more experience in the game, it's going to become a little bit more clearer. So in today's episode, we'll show you an example of when we should be pushing and the team decides not to push, and I come up on the wrong end of the stick. And that's the way it seems it's been happening for me over the last few days of playing this game. And third, which is probably the most painful thing that I want to cover, is not always poor players contribute to the fact that you lose in the game. Sometimes it's really good players, unicorn players, that contribute to you or the team losing this game. And in that example, I'm going to show you how that actually happened and what unicorn players do sometimes in order to get their damage. They sacrifice wins for damage. Basically, that's what it is. Don't get me wrong, in many cases, actually in all the cases, majority of cases, unicorn players play to win the game. But what happened to me this time around, it was really, how can I say it, disappointing, I guess is the word. Because even though I'm not a unicorn player, well, maybe in some tanks I am, but overall I'm not, I would never do something that would compromise the win or team winning the game or falling back and getting away from the fight when we could win the flank, but because you find an easier way to get damage and you find a way to get out, you get out and leave your friendlies stranded. And that's what happened in this situation. So these are the three main examples I want to show you guys in today's video. And the last one will be just my gameplay in T-54E1, and just to give you an example what I had to deal with. Now that was one of the better games, don't get me wrong, and I managed to get my damage in this game, but I couldn't even get to, you know, 2000 damage in some cases. So without further ado, let's jump into the replays and let's talk about what has transpired. Anyway, so the game that you've been kind of watching in the background is a game in my Death Star on map El Haluf, and this was actually one of the closer games that I'm showing you guys, but it shows what happens when heavy tank doesn't go into position where he should go. Now, if you know, on this map, the heavy brawling area is position A3, B2, somewhere around there, in that quadrant anyway. If you don't bring heavy armor into that quadrant, you will lose the game. Prepare to lose the game. Now, I held there as long as I could, but if I had this guy with me, this object 705A, if that object was there with me, we would have won this game. So even, you know, just his presence, a little bit of armor, even if he wasn't shooting anybody, we would have won this game, because he could take most of the shots. He could absorb a lot of shots, a lot of hits from the opposition, and help us play the game, reload, help us hide. That's how you win games. You don't win games from sitting in the back of the map and sniping in your Russian heavy tank. It's never gonna work, guys. So first lesson is you have to place your tank in a position with respect to what it can do. So heavy armor needs to go in the area where you can use that armor. If you don't have armor, then you go in positions where you can hide or sneak up on people, so on and so forth. Anyway, let's skip to the first clip that I have for you guys. And that clip is on map El Alamein. So as you can see, there are two tank destroyers behind me. I have asked him a couple of times to follow me. The idea on a map like this and in a mode like this, aka assault, is you create flanking fire. You have to win a flank in order to provide flanking fire to your position. So I spend my HP here believing and knowing that I need to win this position in order to secure the flank. I'm a heavy tank, heavy armor, and that's what I'm supposed to do. But I run into medium tank and a light tank, and that's exactly what happens. I get taken out by artillery because those two losers behind me don't make any moves. One of them, I think, is the Swedish tank destroyer, and the other one is Scorpion, German tank destroyer. We could have won this flank easy, but because I'm out, we're gonna lose this flank. Simply because this light tank is gonna run circles around them, and there's nothing they can do about it. If I was still here, they came with me, we could have won this flank, and I would have taken care of the light tank. Anyway, let's skip to the next clip. So how do you know when to push? When do you push? At which point do you engage? As you noticed in my previous clip, if you're the first one pushing, like I did, you are subjecting yourself to enemy fire and you can die. In many cases I do this in very OP tank, which I did in a Super Conqueror. It didn't work out, but sometimes it does work out. Now, when you do push, is when you see your friendlies engaging. You see this object 257 on the bottom there, engaging the friendlies. There's a light tank that is also engaging the enemy. This is the time where you rush, and this is the time where you spend your HP in order to get competitive advantage. So we need to take this light tank out, we need to take this medium tank out, and the snipers from behind, there are two medium tanks that are in behind that are going to put shells into me, but at this point in time I don't care. The main priority at this point in time is take these guys out of the game. As you can see, we took out the medium tank. Unfortunately, we miss a shot on the light tank. And now we are in a world of hurt. And we will be, because these guys are putting shells into us. Now, we're not getting any support from the guys on the top. These guys on the top should be firing into these guys that are putting shells into me right now. And then I wouldn't be losing so much HP. I managed to get away into safety, but I lost all of my HP. And for the remainder of the game, I'll be playing with, what, 26 HP? And I'm not going to show you the full game, but I made it almost to the end of the game. We did not win that game, but we got it really, really close. Really, really close. But that was the right moment to push. So the only time you guys engage, if you're one of the OP heavy tanks or OP tank destroyers makes a move, you gotta support that move, especially if you're an autoloader and you're on the flank. You need to support that move. Now these guys that were on top of the hill should have been suppressing fire, supporting us, and trying to put shells into these two medium tanks that were shooting into me and into our friendlies, and they weren't doing the jobs. And that's quite unfortunate. Anyway, let's skip to the next clip that I have for you guys. Now this clip is gonna show how to hold your position, even though you're losing the game. Like, we're losing the game right here, and quite severely. We're losing, what, 5 to 11? We have only 4 tanks left, but we have a very good defensive position, and we still have a lot of health left on the team. So as long as we can hold these guys over here, we can still manage to pull this game off. You would say, Space, it's not possible. Yes, it is possible, and I believed it was possible. We could have probably pulled this off, but it's not going to be the case. So these guys have started pushing hard because they wanted to go for damage, but then they realized they're in a bad position. This E3 is kind of in a bad position. Now at the same time, we lost the other flank, so we know eventually at some point in time the tanks that won the other flank will be on our behinds. But at this point I knew that we still had some time. What I wanted to do is take care of this E3. We needed to take this E3 out of the game. And as long as we do, we can hold and show these guys that we're fighting, and we're just not gonna let them get in here and overrun us, right? So here we take the E3 out, right? So at this point I thought to myself, okay, these guys from behind are gonna be coming any second now. So I was expecting my 2 tanks to hold this position. If they can hold these guys up on top of that hill, then we would be hanky-dory, because I can go hold down on this side of the map and protect our asses, and I'm relatively full health, right? And these guys can hold the other side, right? But look what happens. Look at the map, guys. So the greenies on my team realize that there are tanks coming from this side. They don't realize that I'm actually paying attention to this side. They don't need to be paying attention to this side of the map. And because of that, they... By the way, that shot, come on. At the same time, the opposition team realizes that 2 guys dropped, and because they did drop, they pushed the top of the ridge. And because they are on the top of the ridge, they can easily put shells into my behind. The guys didn't cover my ass. Remember, guys, if you're in a good defensive position, someone has to defend one side, someone else has to defend the other side. This has not happened in this case, and I don't know what this T110E5 did. He just ran off instead of holding the flank. Okay? Simple. Hold one flank, one or the other. Anyway, let's skip to the next clip. So here I was in my T110E5, and again, I'm trying to get myself in a pretty aggressive position. It's an aggressive position, so I can get whoever it is that's trying to reach position, what is it, D6 or D7 to spot. I have crossfire on these guys, so I put myself in this spot. But in the meantime, when I was going up here into this position, I was asking for help, and I got affirmatives from the 2 tank destroyers that are A0 currently. Okay, they are supposed to be supporting me, but look what happens in a split second. Now I am really feasting on these guys, and you know, this would have been a freaking awesome game if they could have held the other guys on my right hand side, but they failed to do so. So I'm still trying to put some shells into this spot, and I don't realize yet, it will be in a split second I will realize that the guys on top of the ridge at A8, they just climbed up like there's no tomorrow, and no one is punishing them. They're just shooting us from the top. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm in a bad position. I am pretty much screwed. I got Amarak. I take this guy out. Now I have to drop in front of that hill because the 2 tank destroyers that are at A9, they're not supporting me from behind. The role of these guys was to stay at A0 and shoot these guys that are basically trying to climb up A8, right? If they supported me from that position, we would have had a freaking awesome game. But because they didn't do so, and I'm not saying just me, like we, I basically refer to the team. This game is going to be a loss because we're going to lose this flank. And the reason why we're going to lose this flank is because of these 2 tank destroyers. No question about it. I was in a bad spot, yes, I go aggressively, but in games like this, especially if you're in a tank that has a little bit of armor, you have to go a little bit more aggressive sometimes. Especially if you're losing every game like I was that weekend. Someone's got to take charge. So I started pushing a little bit harder and a little bit harder. And maybe, you know, it's partly my fault because I was maybe overplaying some of the positions, which I shouldn't have. But if your games last 5 minutes or less, sometimes 4 minutes, then, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. So even me doing 2000 damage in this situation is better than absolutely doing nothing. Anyway, this game is another loss. And simple thing over here would have been, if these guys actually supported me the proper way, we wouldn't have lost this game. Alright, so now we're gonna skip to the last dreadful clip. And this one got me really, really salty. So, especially because, you know, there are good players on my team. There's an Immortals player on my team with a couple of other players in a platoon. So there are 3 of them. 3 of them in a platoon. Okay? And they're going into the central position where I'm going. I like going to that position on this map because, you know, first of all, you can have an early brawl if someone shows up there. Second is, from center of the map, you have access to each area of the map, right? So if you need to reset the base, you have access from here. If you want to attack opposition's base, you have access from there, from the other side. And then you can actually scoot to the northwest quadrant of the map so that you stay undetected, pretty much, so that you can help these guys, whoever it is fighting at location, what is it, C9, B0, somewhere around there, right? So I do really like this position, and we claim this position really fast over here. So at this point in time, I was trying to catch anybody crossing, right? So I put a shell into this T95, cool. You know, I don't want him to snap me, so I'm gonna change position, try to cover our big tumor on top of our heads, right? But I can't get a shot at him, so we're gonna hang around here a little bit. Now, as you can see, both of these guys, both of the guys in the platoon are on this side of the map. They're here with me, right? There's this Progetto, and there's also the Object 260, the Russian premium tank, tier 10 Russian premium tank. So I decided to hold this position, right? There are 2 enemy tanks on the bottom. As you can see, there's tier 8, actually a couple of tier 8s, right? So I was like, okay, it's nothing scary. We can hold these guys over here, no problem. But all of a sudden, and you're gonna see in a split second, because there's no movement and these guys don't want to push out here, they decided to drop. 2 medium tanks already dropped to the B8 area, B9 area, because it looks like there's a big brawl over there. But we have numbers, right? All of a sudden the 60 TP shows up, a lot of armor, and these guys are gonna abandon me. Just check in a second here. I'm gonna call for help. The guy is telling me to drop, but there's nowhere I could drop. I could possibly drop behind a rock, but that's not really gonna help me. So what they're gonna do is they're just not gonna push this flank. They don't want to fight. They abandoned me to go kill the rest of these guys that are sitting there at B7, which our team has total control over the situation. They don't need to go over there. They don't need to be doing this, but the reason they're doing this because it was a much easier damage, and they're not gonna sacrifice their tank, right? And me staying here, I had no escape route, so they basically sacrificed me in order to get themselves a little bit of damage. But honestly, if they stayed here with me, we could have pushed this flank, we could have taken care of this situation. 2 tier 8s and 1 tier 10 is no big deal. We could handle this situation, especially when these guys know how to play the game. So we got totally overrun over here, and because they got bunked and they're all together in that one area of the map, that's another problem nowadays. A lot of teams go together, always together. It works on small maps, guys, but it doesn't work on big maps, because you can get capped out and you have no crossfire into the cap areas. And look what happens here, because these guys won the middle of the map, they're gonna provide a blockade for these guys that are capping in J9. And yes, we have numbers. Yes, we're gonna win the middle of the map. But so what if we're gonna lose the game? If these guys stayed with me, if we took care of the guys in the middle first, which we could have, and I thought we totally could have, then you scoot up to area E8, and these guys know about it for sure, where you can spot the base and you can shoot people in the base. In the worst case, you can scoot all the way to the base so you can reset. But because they haven't done that, the decision they made lost us a game. Just like that. So I got 2000 damage in this game, but we lost the game. So we had good players on the team, yet we still lost the game.
We've got enemies in the area. Take them down or capture their base.
And unfortunately, this replay is a third-person mode. My apologies. I stopped recording because I was getting shit games. I couldn't really get good game. Everything was very average. Yeah, I was getting my 2k damage, you know, in a lot of cases, but, you know. So I wasn't recording. I shut the recorder off, and then I had this game. But even though I had this game, which is not spectacular per se, it's a pretty good game. But, you know, team fell apart. I mean, and that's what's been happening. It seems like everything seems to be on my shoulders to try to carry this shit sometimes, and it's just not there for me. And it's just not there for me. Like, look at this Centurion. He takes a hit. Oh, he didn't even take the hit. Someone was shooting at him. He's gonna back out. He's not gonna move forward. And he's facing tier 7s. These are tier 7s, okay? We're talking about IS. He can easily pen the IS, okay? Now, the guy on the left-hand side on the opposition team is this new premium tank. See, look at him. He's running off. He's got, you know, all that HP, and he's running off. Why? Come to fight, for crying out loud. Now, this guy is doing the right thing. The guy on the right, he's actually trying to fight. But it would be good if you can protect against these guys that are currently sitting at G3. If you could side scrape off of this rock here, then I could easily go around, take care of that guy. That was my plan anyway. I was gonna go take care of that guy anyway, regardless. So scoot behind here. I have cover from the guys that are at G3, H3 over there, and I can easily clip this guy out, right? So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna clip him out, and then we're gonna hide. Simple as that. Now, where's this light tank going? You going front line. If you're in a light tank, you never go front line. Never go front line fighting unless there's a flanking situation where you can actually flank. So you let your heavies push, and then you flank around the back and try to shoot people, right? So we're gonna move up a little bit further here. I want to reload, kind of. So I'm going in a different position. I'm a top tier in this matchup, right? And I'm an autoloader, so I'm like, I need to unleash the fury. That's what I wanted to do. And one thing I needed my friendly to do, my friendly 705, is stay back there and provide his armor, so that I can put some shells into these guys and try to, you know, get them down in number, right? Get them out of the game as much as I can, right? That's the idea. So I'm gonna reload here, so I dropped. And then, for whatever reason, my teammates decided to go middle lane. Instead of pushing on the side where I am right now, we could try to push this through hard. They decided to go in the middle. So the guys at E1, F1, they're gonna die. they're just gonna die. The T-32 that's on the corner over there and the medium tank that's at H2, they're gonna take care of them. And I don't know, maybe it's skill or whatever, but I'm sitting here, I'm trying to get as much damage as I can. I'm trying to get these guys out of the game. That's the main thing. So with the accuracy of this gun, unfortunately, I was fully aimed at the Carnarvon, and I still managed to miss one shell or bounce one shell or something. I get ammo racked, but we repaired this, and at this point in time I realized, holy shit, I'm the last one on this side of the map right now in this corner, and I'm reloading. So I can't really be here while these guys are fighting on this side of the map. So I'm a top tier autoloader and they leave me all alone. That's another thing. If you have top tier autoloader on your team, I guess depending what tank you're in, but if you're in a heavy tank, don't you think it would be beneficial to support that autoloader in order to try to win the flank, win the game? Here unfortunately I mess up one shot. It bounces off of his top plate and goes into his turret, and that was the shot that messed me up. If I taken him out of the game, I would have extended this game a little bit longer, but there's no way I would have been able to win it. Anyway, these two guys that are back here defending the base, there's not much they'll be able to do. This IS is gonna be bouncing shells, the other guy is gonna get flanked, and the game is pretty much over. And yeah, I don't know what these guys were doing. I guess they were defending this side of the map, so I can't really blame them for anything, because there's gotta be someone defending the other side of the map. You cannot have everybody going through one area and get capped out. But anyway, let's take a look at the post-game stats for this game. So we were able to pick up 5.6k damage, quite a nice result, class 1. That's probably my best game out of the weekend. It was so crap, honestly. I had few 5k games as well, but it was really difficult this time around. We finished on top of the team. We managed to fire 20 shots. We had 18 direct hits and 16 penetrations. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry for bringing salt on Christmas, but sometimes, you know, you need salt on Christmas, especially in Canada, because there's ice and snow outside, so you need salt on Christmas. You get my drift. Anyway, not this Christmas, not so far. Right now it's pretty good. Temperatures are above 0, so we're okay. But regardless, maybe my next video will be a little bit on a lowdown, if you know what I mean. But this time around, I guess salt is what it is. Anyway guys, that's it for today. Until next time, Merry Christmas, Happy Tanking, Space Bandit, checking out.